is only war.
What is up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. We're going to do another tactical video for you guys today. Hopefully this finds you good because it's going to be a very technical one. It's going to be going over chess clocks in the tournament setting. So when you guys are getting into 40k, you might not have to worry about chess clocks, but when you get more in the higher ranks, especially grand tournaments, you're going to want to be familiar and really hone in on your skills with the chess clock game. The last GT that we did was a really intense chess clock game on game 5 that got us the win for the grand tournament. So I really wanted to make a video and go over, for anybody that really wants to get up to that level, why chess clocks can be so important in 40k. So to give you a little backstory, I came from War Machine before I played 40k. I played 40k for a couple years in college, like 1 or 2 years in college, but then I switched to War Machine. War Machine is a type of game that is only on the chess clock. You both have 1 hour each, kind of like, you know, chess. I don't think it's like 5 minutes, but you both have a certain amount of time. If the game's not over, once the opponent clocks, it is now game over. The opponent who didn't clock wins the game. So it came down to basically milliseconds, sometimes at the top tiers, and it was a really easy transition coming into 40k because I was so used to playing the clock every single game for War Machine. Once I transitioned into 40k, it was a lot more laid back type of style. So a lot of comments I'm sure are going to be in the description below. Let me know positively what you think about the chess clocks. Do you run them religiously, or do you kind of like never run them and never going to run them? That's fine. This type of video is going to be made for people that want to get better at the chess clock, want to start using them, want to start practicing that with them, getting faster with their game. There's a lot of people that I know that could really use practice with the chess clock to just play normal games under a certain amount of time. If you're playing games in 5 hours, you're wasting 2 hours extra that the game should be taking to, with your friend, whatever it may be. Maybe you like just drinking beers, having some pretzels, and playing 40k. Fuck it, do that. But let's get into the video. We're gonna go over 9 tips on how the chess clocks worked, and then we'll transition everything over to patreon.com. Thank you all my Patreons who are supporting the channel. Really trying to grow really big in 2024. Hopefully, in the next month or two, we'll hit the 10,000 subscriber mark. That's all thanks to you guys really pushing me to make more of these types of videos, and tactical videos really are blowing up on YouTube. So guys, appreciate it. If you want to head over, definitely support the rest of this video over at patreon.com. So let's get into it. First is you have to get a chess clock. That's going to be your first thing. We're going to have a little description in a link in the description below if you guys are interested. They're pretty cheap. I think they're like 20 bucks on Amazon. So you guys can go purchase one over at Amazon. But a digital one is you have to make sure it doesn't die. That is probably one of the first tips with the digital clock, is make sure you have extra batteries when you're bringing it, because if you start seeing it to dim and you can't really see the numbers, replace the clock. Because if the clock dies and you don't know whose time is on what, it basically just comes down to splitting the time evenly with a new clock, and you could have lost out on a lot of minutes moving forward with that game. But how does it work? You have to confirm with the judge. Is your tournament going to allow chess clocks? Is some tournaments, I think in ITC, if your opponent wants a chess clock, you have to play on the chess clock. If both parties don't want a chess clock, then you don't have to play on a chess clock. But if one party wants a chess clock, the game then has to be played on a chess clock. It doesn't matter if you're like, no, I don't want to play on a chess clock, well then you basically forfeit. So again, this video is going to be a lot of like, oh, well that shouldn't be the way. It's just, these are how the rules are written, and it just keeps it fair to make sure that both players have equal amount of time. So that way, if you have a 3-hour game, you're going to get done in 3 hours no matter what. That opponent has an hour and a half, you have an hour and a half, it's equal, play the game. So that's the chess clock. But again, make sure you have a chess clock. If it's digital, analog is kind of finicky, where if you hit it, it might not start. So I would recommend the digital, and just make sure you have extra batteries with you, no matter where you bring it. So number one is make sure that you're confirming where you're going. If the judges or TOs are going to be using it, how the chess clock is going to be used. If one person wants it, do you have to run it? Stuff like that. So make sure that you guys are doing that beforehand. Number two, each player is responsible for their own time. Now, this is going to come down to debate when it comes to, are you going to hit it on their time or not? So to be fair, you want to be a good sportsman. Like, that's just 40k in general. You don't want to be a dickhead to play against. You don't want to like cheat. And I think not hitting the clock when you know it's on their time is kind of cheating. It's kind of a dickhead move. So anytime I hit the clock over, we'll go over on when you should hit the clock over and stuff like that. But let's say I hit the clock over, they make 30 saves, whatever, and I go to pick up my dice and I start rolling on his time, but I'm rolling to do more attacks. That's not cool. You should either remind them like, hey, clock, hit the clock, or hit it for him. Boom, now it's on your time. You roll the dice, then you continue the game. So that is something that you want to make sure that each player is responsible for their time, but don't be a dick and not remind them. If I have a player that's brand new to clock, I'm going to try and help them out as best I possibly can to make sure the game's even. You don't want to hit it on their time for both of you forget about it. I mean, that's honest opinion, but you don't want to forget about it, and now you played an hour on your opponent's time. But honestly, with the rules, how they're written is everybody is responsible for their own time. So if you hit it on their time, they are responsible for that time, and if they don't hit it back, they're responsible for that time. So that's where it kind of gets sportsman-like, where if you hit it on their time, make sure you're even and hit it back, right? So that's number 2 on the list, is each player is responsible for their own time. So you're responsible for your time, they're responsible for their time. Keep track of the clock, and at the end of this list, it's really just going to be coming down to practice. Practice the clock, even if you're at a friendly game, just practice with it, whatever it may be. Tip number 3, guys, is removing models without rolling. Both players must agree. What I mean by that is to save time on clock, especially in a tournament setting like a GT, last tournament of the game. I have 50 dice coming at you. You have 3 models left. I know they're gonna die. You know they're gonna die. So do you care if I not roll this out? Yeah, I agree. Let me just take that off. Boom. Those guys get off. You save some time with the clock, and you should remember that for your opponent as well. This happened to me at the last GT. I rolled it out. I was like, hey, do you care if those guys just die? He's like, oh, let's just see what happens. I'm like, all right. Rolled the dice. They got fucking picked up pretty easily. Later in the game, he's about to roll 40 dice on my cultists. I'm like, let's see how it plays out. So remember that it goes both ways. So if they don't want to remove their models and he forces you to roll them out, legally you have to roll them out, because that's how the 40k rules are played. If you're going to make an attack, you have to roll out all the attack dice, wounds dice, and then he has to roll his save dice. That takes up time. But if he removes the models pretty quickly, because you both agree, like, yes, that fucking 5-man cultist unit's going to die from your 40 Terminator attacks coming in. We both agree to that. You then remove those models. Now, if he has the same question about you later in the game, you can't go, I mean, you shouldn't, again, sportsman, you shouldn't go like, no, roll it out, I want to waste your time. That's effed up, guys. That should not happen. So when it comes down to the clock, both players have to agree that the models are going to be removed at that time to save time on both players. So when it comes down to removing the model, if you don't agree with me removing the model, I have to roll it out, and then you have to make your saves. I'll put on your time, you make the saves, I put it back, we then continue the game. Later in the game, we can't remove our models, just to keep it even. If you have 3 seconds or 30 seconds left on the clock, and you have to kill this unit to win the game, basically, dude, you gotta roll it out. I can't. You made me roll it. You gotta roll it. So that's gonna be some practice when it comes to agreeing on both parts, and remembering that like top players, that most of them are gonna be like, yeah, this unit's dead. Yeah, this unit's dead. Don't worry, this unit's dead. Most top players are gonna be like that. Some players you might come across, they're like, nope, you have to roll it out. Hey, I agree. Let's roll out the rest of the things, the rest of the game, and then you go from there. So that's going to be number 3. Is anytime you remove a model, make sure that both players are agreeing with removing that model. Tip number 4: rules despite time remains until the judge comes to the table. So that's something that a lot of people pause the clocks with. So you're never able to pause the clock. Bigger GTs, they have multiple judges walking around. You basically raise up your hand, you just scream, "Judge!" And then the judge will look, see you, and then walk over, and then they might tell you, pause the clock, right? If they do, then you're able to pause the clock. But if they don't, that judge call is on that players who has the question. So let's say I'm playing the Grey Knights over there, and they have a question like, can I see this model? And I say, no, I pull out the laser, we're measuring, we can't see it. He really thinks that he can see my model. I'm like, hey, let's call a judge. So I'm gonna hit it on his time, because he disagrees with me. It's his question if he can see that or not. It's now on his time for the judge to come over, make that call, and then yes, he can or cannot see based off what the judge says. And then you boom, hit the clock, and now you continue with the game. So judge calls should be on the clock of player who's asking the question. If there's something that he has to look up, whether it be a stratagem or something like that, if he doesn't have his cards present with you or the app like ready to go, that might be on his time. Like, hey, can you pull out that question real quick? That should be on my time. But if he doesn't have it available and he's got to go search for it and open up his phone, he could be fucking scrolling through, porn, whatever. I'm just kidding. He can be scrolling through like videos and stuff. If he's taking a while, put that on his time. Then switch it back to his time once he finds it, because it's your question. Now it's on your time. All right. So that's going to be rules displays. Judges coming over. It's on the time of the player that's asking the question or doesn't believe in the call that's going on. So make sure you remember that you're hitting it over, but you're also hitting it back. Don't forget the clock, because if you don't hit it back, again, you're responsible for your time. So if they hit it on you while you're asking the question, make sure you hit it back on them while they continue their turn. All right, so make sure you remember that rule. Tip number 5. This is an important one. This is probably one of the most important ones when it comes to the clock in a grand tournament setting. Tip number 5 is when time runs out. The game's not completely done, still goes, but when the time runs out, you cannot perform any actions. You can only make saving throws, leadership tests, and scoring objectives, or already on. So let's say my time is out. I have an objective in my deployment zone. He basically can't get anywhere near me in my deployment zone. I'm going to score, without moving my models, that objective only. That's it. Now, obviously, if he runs over and contests it, I can't score it anymore. I can't move my models, can't do anything. I can't do actions. I can't do secondaries, which mostly are actions. I can't, do anything on the table that involves an action. I can only make saving throws. I cannot attack a unit that is attacking me. I can make the saving throw, though, but I can't attack them back. So let's say I have a huge combat going. Abaddon is, charging this unit, and Abaddon's, still alive. He's got all his wounds. He can't attack back. You're clocked. You can't do anything. You can make saving throws, because if he's trying to kill Abaddon to get assassinate, you can then make saving throws to try and, do that. You can't spend a stratagem to re-roll an attack. That's up in the air. Somebody let me know if you can or cannot. I haven't thought about that yet. But you cannot make attacks back to kill that unit off an objective or whatever it may be. So you can only do saving throws to see if you live or die. So that's a really important one. If time runs out, do not perform any more actions and only score on objectives that you're already on. And that is it. If you have a secondary for investigate signal or whatever it may be, or engage in all fronts, you basically can't move any of your models, but if you are engaged in all fronts on that turn that you clocked, you then will still be able to score that engage on fronts next turn. The secondaries, most of the time you're not going to be able to do any of them because you can't basically activate anything and can't do any actions. So that is another really important thing, is if your time does run out or if your opponent's time runs out, you can then still continue moving your models and doing actions and stealing objectives and interacting with the board, but they can't do anything. And that's what happened on turn 5 in the grand tournament at the last GT we're in. He clocked, I still had about 18 minutes left on my time. So we had about a turn and a half left. I was still activating on my bottom of turn 4, and then we had all of turn 5 for me to basically get as many points as I possibly can to try and win the game while trying to deny him primary. So he can't do anything. You can then still do and perform actions and get across the table and shoot and kill stuff. They just can't do anything. They can only make saving throws. So that is tip number 5. So guys, if the rest is going to be continued on Patreon, we have another 4 tips to go with the clock. It's going to be a lot of good tactical stuff when it comes to how to practice it and stuff like that. But guys, if you're new to the channel, head over. There's a lot of free stuff over on YouTube. If you guys want to support the channel, want more of the content like this to come out early, You get it over at patreon.com. We are trying to grow as much as possible in 2024. We're going to a lot of GTs. I want to go over to overseas and play in the UK. So if you guys are new to the channel, join the Dirtbag Nation, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. And if you guys want to support us, head over to patreon.com. Appreciate it, guys. Good luck, and we'll see you in another video soon. What's up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. If you guys are thinking about joining the Patreon page, we're going to go over each tier and how it's going to benefit you and what you're looking for specifically to get out of 40k in 10th edition coming up. There's a lot of stuff to go over. There's a lot of tactical videos up on the channel, which is for free. There's going to be a bunch of perks that you get specifically for being a part of the Dirtbag Nation Patreon page. So first off, we have the first tier, which is $1 a month. You guys get first access to the videos over at patreon.com. You also get access to the Discord, which is specifically a private link in the Discord that only Patreon members can see. So you guys will have first access to that. Also a benefit is Patreons over the Dirtbag Nation get live streamed games on patreon.com streamed from YouTube, but this only links specifically for the patreons.com. So not only do you get first access to these videos, you also get to see live stream games specifically only on patreon.com. The next tier is the Justicar. You guys get a shout out on every single video on YouTube. You also get to support us a little bit more. You get first dibs at voting on Discord, as well as you just kind of say, hey, I just want to be a Justicar Dirtbag and support you guys a little bit more than that $1 a month here. But you get all the same access as well as the different color over on the Discord. So the third tier is the Competitive Dirtbag. This tier, you get a lot more one-on-one coaching. This is a lot of the Dirtbags over on the Dirtbag Nation. They are able to send out messages one-on-one, go over list ideas, tactics, anything you guys want to talk about. When I was getting into 40K, or really any game in general, I always wanted to message the top players in the meta and just ask them questions. This $10 a month tier gets you that opportunity to message us one-on-one on Discord, so that way we can actually coach you, give you our insights, suggestions, and that's going to get you better at the 40k 10th edition as a whole. So that tier alone, just $10 a month to have one-on-one coaching, one-on-one messages anytime throughout the month, that's going to be a perfect tier for you guys. Even if you're brand new to the game, we go over 1,000 point list, 1,500 point list, 2,000 point brand new starting list, team list, anything you guys need. That's what the Competitive Dirtbag tier is for. Also, you get a little bit red number name tag on Discord, so people know that you're really serious about getting into the competitive scene. The Grandmaster Dirtbags. This is the all-in-all $25 a month tier. You get one-on-one coaching, everything we said prior to this, but you guys get to see me, Mike, any of the other Dirtbags play your specific list that you want to see tested out live on one of our battle reports. You guys get to mention, suggest videos you guys want to see coming up on patreon.com. So you guys get the above first tier benefit of everything that we do over at Dirtbag Nation. All the support mainly comes from you guys supporting us over here at Dirtbag Nation. And Grandmasters, I can't thank you enough, but for $25 a month, you get one-on-one coaching and anything you want to see live on the tabletop. So you get to see a professional play right in front of you. You guys get to kind of like see it one-on-one, and I'm actually making this specifically for you. There's also TTS events that you guys can suggest. If you guys want to do a first 1 or 2 turn run through on TTS, we can actually log in and coach you one-on-one with that. If you guys see us at any GTs, you guys get special benefits, free dice, stuff like that. Anytime you purchase a merch thing on Discord, you guys get a free limited edition Dirtbag dice sent to you with every single purchase on top of that. So there's a lot of benefits coming up with the Grandmaster Dirtbag. Because I can't thank you enough for supporting us. Definitely let me know which tier would be best for you if you go over to patreon.com and specifically go to a tier. And make sure you don't forget to message me up on Discord. That's where we check every single day. If you guys are really into getting into 10th edition 40k, head over to Patreon, join the Competitive Dirtbag or the Grandmaster. Message me as many times as you possibly want, and I'll coach you the best I possibly can on any specific army that you guys play. Mainly our armies right now, currently, going into 2024, is going to be Chaos Space Marines, Grey Knights, Death Guard, and then we have Custodes, Sisters, and I think that's it going into the wings of 2024. But again, any other army that you guys play, we have other coaches lined up for the Dirtbags that are ready to take on that role of the Competitive Dirtbag page. So guys, really appreciate it. Thanks for clicking on the video. Thanks for joining the Dirtbag Nation if you guys are already part of us. And we'll see you in another video soon.